The 2-minute walk test is a test that you may have done in your neurologist's office. This is a test that measures self-paced walking ability and functional capacity. You're going to need a stopwatch, and essentially all you're doing is you walk for 2 minutes straight. The trick here when you're doing it at home is to always start in the same spot, and it should be a spot that will not change. For example, in a doorway or by your couch that never moves. So choose a stationary spot and you'll start there every time you do this test. From here, press go on your stopwatch and walk for 2 minutes straight. Ideally, this will be a path that you can replicate easily each time you do this test with no obstacles in the way. The answer to this test is going to be numerical, meaning you're going to write down a number. If you are walking back and forth down your hallway, write down the number of times that you were able to walk back and forth in 2 minutes. If you instead were choosing to walk around your living room or walk around the kitchen, write down the number of times that you were successfully able to walk around that area. And keep in mind, you absolutely can use a mobility aid. You want to be walking safely and with good technique. So go ahead and grab a stopwatch, pick your starting point, and start walking for 2 minutes. The 5 times sit to stand test is a test that measures functional strength, balance, fall risk, and transitional movements such as transfers. You're going to need a stopwatch, and all you're going to do is sit in a sturdy chair that will not fall over, ideally with armrests, and you're going to press go on your stopwatch as you stand all the way up and then sit all the way down. And you're going to repeat this movement 5 times. So you're standing up and sitting down 5 times. Again, you can use armrests or you can use the seat of your chair, but please do not pull from a mobility aid or a walker that's right in front of you. You want to keep your hands next to your body. And if you don't need to use armrests, then you don't need to. But once you're done standing up and sitting down 5 times, take a look at your stopwatch and see how much time has passed. That number is going to be your answer for this test. Remember to keep your core muscles tight the whole time and think about pushing your knees out. This will help you be more stable as you're standing up and sitting down. The timed up and go, also known as the tug, is a test that is classically performed in the physical therapy clinic. However, we can modify it so that we can test this at home. This is a test that attempts to quantify functional mobility. You will need a sturdy chair and a distance without any obstacles in your way of about 3 meters in front of you. Now, what you're going to do for this test is you're timing yourself as to how long it takes you to stand up, walk 3 meters away, turn around, walk back to your chair, turn around, and sit back down in your chair. You are absolutely more than welcome to use armrests. If you normally use a walking aid, a cane, a walker, rollator, trekking poles, you can absolutely use that during this test. As I mentioned, this test typically requires 3 meters distance. However, if you are unable to mark 3 meters in your home, or you don't have 3 meters of clear space, think about what is in your home that never moves, and you can use those 2 marks for this test. One of those landmarks is where your chair will be at a spot that never moves, for example, up against a wall. And the second landmark is the point that you're walking to that also never moves. The reason this is so important is because you will be repeating this test anywhere from every 4 weeks to 6 or 8 weeks. And every time you repeat the test, it needs to be the same so you can mark progress. You will need a stopwatch for this test, and the timer starts as soon as you start to stand up, and it stops as soon as your butt touches the chair. It can be helpful to have someone else time this for you. In this test, I will ask you 2 questions. The first question is, what is the distance that you walked? If you measured 3 meters, then your answer will be 3 meters. However, if you are using landmarks, then put down the 2 landmarks. For example, you walked from your bathroom doorway, where your chair was, to the kitchen table and back. or whichever landmarks you actually used. The second question is, did you use a mobility aid? And this is where you can list all the mobility aids you may have used, such as a walker and an AFO, or the Bioness and trekking poles. So if you used a mobility aid of any kind, make sure to put it in that section. The timed 25-foot walk test is a test that is often performed in the physical therapy clinic as well as the neurology office. However, it is also a test that you can perform here at home. This is a test where you are able to walk 25 feet from one marked point to another, and you are timed when doing so. The timer starts as soon as you initiate your first step forward, and the timer stops as soon as you've reached the point indicating that you've walked 25 feet. To do this test at home, you will need a stopwatch, and you will also need 2 points in your home that do not move. Perhaps this is one end of a hallway to another, or maybe it's one doorway to another doorway. Ideally, you're going to pick a space about 25 feet where those points on either end do not move and it's a clear path. There's nothing that is in your way. You can walk straight forward. If you do have a measuring tape, you can absolutely measure 25 feet. However, if you don't have that, it's okay to modify this when you are at home to using 2 different landmarks. Whichever you do, make sure you note it in the test. I will be asking you 3 questions in this test. The first is, how long did it take you to perform this test? Perhaps it took you a certain number of seconds or a minute or a few minutes. Doesn't matter what the answer is, but how long did it take you? The second question is, did you use a mobility aid? If you normally use a mobility aid, anything from a walking stick, trekking poles, walker, or rollator, it is absolutely okay and encouraged to use that during this test. So you can make a note of that in this test. And the third question I ask you is, what is the distance that you walked? Was it exactly 25 feet or was it one landmark to another? Either way, indicate what you did so you can replicate this easily next time. And remember, you want to walk from one end to the other as quickly but safely as possible. Make sure you're being safe. Do not walk faster if that's going to put you at a risk for falling or having poor quality when you're walking. Good luck.